The outpost called Helicon Fringe was the kind of place most people forgot existed. It floated at the edge of human space like an old metal shell, rusted corners, flickering hallway lights, and wind-like echoes moving through the ventilation system. To most visitors, it felt lonely. But to Jax Wren, a human mechanic who preferred machines over people, it was perfect. Jax liked quiet. He liked the hum of engines, the feel of warm metal under his hands, and the predictable logic of broken parts. People were messy. Machines were honest. That was why he lived at the far edge of the galaxy, fixing old starships and patching up whatever scraps the universe threw at him. On an uneventful afternoon, while he was elbow-deep in the guts of a faulty coolant pump, the outpost alarm blared to life. Not the usual cargo docking signal. Not the low-priority warning. This was the distress signal tone, sharp and urgent. Jax wiped sweat from his forehead and stepped away from the pump, annoyed but curious. Distress signals usually meant trouble. Trouble usually meant broken ships. Broken ships meant work, and work meant money. He switched on the holographic display. A small blinking icon floated in the air. Unidentified cargo hauler, adrift, minimal power, life support failure. Jax frowned. Great, just what I needed today. Still, he grabbed his toolkit and headed toward the hangar. The outpost wasn't fancy, but they had one decent shuttle for rescue runs. As he prepped the shuttle for departure, a few crewmates peeked in. "You answering that?" one of them asked. "Someone has to," Jax said. "Careful," another warned. "Dragon territory isn't far from here. If the hauler got hit by one of those Solaran creatures, you don't want to be anywhere near it." Jax rolled his eyes. "Dragons don't roam this far, and even if they did, they don't attack random ships. Everyone says that until teeth are in their face." Jax climbed into the shuttle without replying. People on Helicon Fringe liked rumors more than facts. He preferred to see things with his own eyes. The shuttle launched, gliding into the dark emptiness of space. Stars stretched in every direction like cold pinpricks on black cloth. It took only 15 minutes before the drifting cargo hauler came into view. It rotated slowly, like a dead whale bobbing in an endless ocean. Half the lights were out. A trail of frozen debris floated behind it. Jax docked the shuttle and sealed the airlock. When he stepped inside, the ship felt eerily silent. His boots echoed on the metal floor. The air smelled faintly burnt, as if something had overloaded recently. He switched on his headlamp and walked deeper into the corridor. "Hello?" he called. "Anyone alive?" No answer. He passed broken crates, leaking coolant tubes, and a set of scorch marks on the walls. Something had definitely gone wrong here, but he couldn't tell what yet. Then he heard it, a sound so small he almost missed it. A soft, weak whimpering, like a hurt animal. Jax paused. What was that? He followed the sound to a sealed cargo bay door. The panel was cracked and smoking, as though someone had forced it open earlier. He pried it with a crowbar until the door screeched upward. Inside, the room was dim and cold. Broken medical equipment lay scattered across the floor. Cylindrical capsules lined the walls, most shattered, some leaking strange glowing fluids. And in the corner, something moved. Jax raised his lamp. His breath caught. A creature, small, trembling, and curled in on itself, lay amid twisted metal restraints. It looked almost like a dragon, but not like the stories. Not huge or fearsome. This one was barely the size of a large dog. Its wings were too short, its tail thin and rigid with mechanical implants. Half its body shimmered with soft metallic scales, and half looked raw and bruised. Wires and malfunctioning life support tubes stuck out from its sides. Sparks jumped from one implant, making the creature whimper again. Jax froze. He knew what he was looking at. A Solaran dragon, but mutated. And tiny. Solaran dragons were known across the galaxy. Magnificent. Enormous beings with wings that could slice through clouds and bodies that glowed with star energy. They were powerful, wise, and rarely seen. But this creature, it looked nothing like the proud beings in the hollows. It looked scared. It looked in pain. It looked like a child. Jack slowly crouched, lowering his voice. "Hey, easy. I'm not gonna hurt you." The little dragon's head lifted slightly. Its bright silver eyes met his. Intelligent eyes, scared eyes. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. Then the creature shivered again as another implant sparked, lighting up its small body with a painful jolt. Jax's stomach twisted. Whoever had done this, it wasn't an accident. This was experiment work, illegal, cruel, and extremely dangerous. Humans didn't mess with Solaran dragons, not unless they were stupid. But right now, Jax wasn't thinking about danger. He was thinking about how this tiny creature was suffering. He moved closer. The dragon flinched but didn't attack. It was too weak to even stand properly. "Okay," Jax murmured gently. "Let's get these things off you." He examined the implants. Most were malfunctioning restraints, designed to keep the creature sedated, but they were failing and firing random shocks instead. "Poor thing," he whispered. He reached out slowly. The dragon watched his hand, tense at first, then relaxed slightly when he touched the metal base of the implant, not its skin. Jax took a deep breath and began working with careful hands. He cut wires, disabled power nodes, and removed clamps. Each time he freed a section, the dragon let out a soft, breathy hum, like a tiny vibration of relief. After several minutes, the creature finally slumped forward, no longer held up by the metal prison. Jax caught it gently. "I've got you," he said, surprised at how natural the words felt. When he lifted the creature, it weighed almost nothing, too light, too fragile for a species known for strength. Something was wrong beyond the implants. The dragon's entire body showed signs of stunted growth, as though someone had forced it to stay small. Experimentation, genetic interference, illegal biotech. Jax's anger simmered. He hated cruelty, especially hidden behind science. He carried the creature back to the shuttle, making sure its head rested comfortably against his chest. At one point, the little dragon made a soft chirp sound, almost like a thank you. Jax wasn't sure if he imagined it. Once inside the shuttle, he placed the dragon on a padded cot and grabbed his emergency medical tools. The creature's glowing eyes followed his every movement. "All right, little guy," he said softly. "Let's try to fix you up." He removed damaged wires and used a portable scanner to check for internal injuries. The readings were strange, part biological, part mechanical. Someone had tried to fuse the creature's natural energy channels with artificial ones. The procedure was unstable and dangerous. "No wonder you're hurting," Jax whispered. "This is a mess." He cleaned wounds, sealed burns, and patched thin scales that had cracked. The dragon didn't fight. It simply watched him, as if trying to understand him. When he was done, he covered the creature with a thermal blanket. The dragon's eyelids drooped, but before it drifted off, it stretched a wing toward him, weak, small, and trembling. Jax blinked. "What? You want me to stay?" The creature made a soft humming sound. Jax sighed and sat on the floor beside the cot. "Fine, but just for a bit." He wasn't sure why he felt so protective. Maybe because the creature seemed completely alone. Maybe because he had never seen anything so sad and brave at the same time. Or maybe because, for the first time in years, something alive needed him. Not a machine, not a system, not a job. Something alive. As the dragon slept, Jax leaned against the shuttle wall. He knew this wasn't simple. Someone had experimented on a rare alien species. Someone dangerous. Someone who might come looking for the creature. But looking at the tiny dragon breathing softly, Jax made a quiet decision. He wouldn't abandon it. Not now. Not ever. He didn't know it yet, but this choice would change everything, from the outpost to the wild galaxy beyond, to the destiny of two species. And it all began with a human mechanic, a broken dragon, and a rescue he never expected to matter so much. The shuttle landed gently inside the Helicon Fringe hangar, its engines letting out a tired sigh. Jax Wren stepped out first, carrying his toolkit. Behind him, wrapped in a thick thermal blanket, the small dragon lay resting on the padded cot secured inside the shuttle. No one else was in the hangar at this hour. Good. Jax didn't want questions, and he definitely didn't want anyone panicking at the sight of a creature they recognized only from old dramatic stories. He returned to the cot and carefully lifted the little dragon into his arms. It felt warmer now, breathing more steadily after the emergency medical work he'd done. The small body relaxed against his chest, as if it trusted him completely. Jax tried not to think too much about the responsibility he'd just taken on. He didn't rescue pets. He didn't take care of living creatures. He repaired engines, not hearts. But as he carried the dragon through the silent hangar, he felt something new, something strange. A feeling like he was doing something important, not just necessary. He brought the creature into his workshop, a wide room cluttered with half-finished machines, tools scattered across counters, and holographic blueprints floating above workbenches. He cleared a table and gently set the dragon down. The creature stirred, blinking slowly. Its silver eyes adjusted to the brighter light of the workshop, and it made a soft humming sound, like a tiny engine trying to communicate. Jack smiled a little. "Hey, you're safe here," the dragon chirped softly. Jax didn't know what the sound meant, but it didn't feel threatening. If anything, it sounded like the little creature was trying to respond to him. A new routine begins. The next few hours passed in quiet work. Jax connected a small portable generator to a set of warm pads, placing them under the dragon so its weak body could stabilize. He built a simple feeding station after running a scan to understand its nutritional needs. Dragons of Solara usually fed on pure energy and rare minerals, but this small mutant one seemed to require something gentler. Basic concentrated nutrient gel would do for now. When Jax placed a dish of the gel near the dragon, the creature sniffed it and looked unsure. It nudged the dish with its nose, confused. "Don't look at me like that," Jax muttered. "I'm learning too." He dipped a finger in the gel and held it near the dragon's mouth. The little creature hesitated, then licked it. Immediately its eyes brightened slightly, as if the small bit of energy warmed its body. "There you go," Jax said softly. "Eat slow." The dragon ate in tiny bites, still weak, but determined. After a few moments, it crawled closer to Jax's hand and nudged it again. Jax blinked. "What? You want me to stay again?" The dragon hummed. Jax sighed but sat beside the table, leaning one arm near the dragon. It rested its head on his wrist and closed its eyes. This time Jax didn't fight the warm feeling in his chest. Curiosity awakens. By the next day, the creature's energy had improved. When Jax entered the workshop, the dragon lifted its head quickly and chirped happily, as if it were greeting him. "Oh, so now you're excited, huh?" Jax laughed. The dragon spread its tiny wings, too small for flight, and hopped off the table. It landed with a soft thump and walked unsteadily toward him, tail dragging slightly due to the leftover implants. Jax crouched down. "Slow down. You're not fully healed yet." The creature stumbled, but pressed its head against his knee. Jax gently stroked the small metallic scales on its head. They felt cool and smooth, but beneath them the dragon seemed warm and alive. It leaned into his touch. "You're friendlier than I expected," Jax whispered. Suddenly, the workshop lights flickered. Jax looked up, annoyed. "Don't tell me the power grid's acting up again." But then he noticed something odd. The dragon's scales glowed faintly. Each pulse of light matched the rhythm of the flickering ceiling lamps. "Are you doing that?" The dragon tilted its head and made a low hum. The lights flickered again, this time brighter. Jax's eyes widened. "You're syncing with the electrical system?" The dragon nodded, or at least, it made a movement that looked like one. This was new. Dragons of Solara did control energy, but they were known for channeling cosmic radiation, not interacting with artificial machines. Jax quickly grabbed a handheld scanner. When he pointed it at the dragon, the readings shocked him. "Your energy frequencies are stabilizing. You're interacting with the workshop power grid like it's natural to you." The dragon chirped proudly. Jax chuckled. "You're something special, aren't you?" The dragon made a soft, pleased rumble like an engine purring. Rumors begin later. That day, while the dragon slept curled up on a blanket near the warm generator, Jax stepped out to gather supplies. The moment he entered the outpost's central hallway, voices reached him from the nearby common area. "Did you hear about the missing Solaran creature?" "Yeah, some syndicate ship lost its bio-experiment cargo." "Syndicate? That's bad news. They never let their projects go." Jax froze. He listened quietly from behind the corner. "They've sent trackers to nearby sectors," one worker whispered. "They think the creature's somewhere close to the fringe." Jax's heart tightened. They were talking about his dragon, the small, gentle, mutated creature currently sleeping in his workshop. If the syndicate found out he had it, they wouldn't ask questions. They wouldn't care that he saved it. They would take the dragon and erase anyone who got in the way. He couldn't let that happen. He hurried back to the workshop, locking the door behind him. The dragon woke from the noise and lifted its head. Jax crouched beside it. "We might be in trouble," he said, keeping his voice calm. "The people who hurt you might come looking." The dragon made a low, uneasy hum. It looked scared again, eyes dimming. Jax placed a hand on its head. "Don't worry. I'm not letting them take you." The dragon slowly relaxed, leaning into his touch. Jax knew he meant those words. Discovery of extraordinary ability. Over the next 2 days, Jax worked tirelessly, both on repairs for clients and on helping the small dragon recover. The creature followed him everywhere in the workshop, sometimes sitting beside him while he repaired engines, other times resting on top of a pile of warm cables. One evening, while Jax worked on a malfunctioning ship engine, the dragon climbed into the open engine chamber. "Hey," Jax said quickly, "that's not safe." But before he could pull the dragon out, something incredible happened. The small creature pressed its body against the inner engine wall. Its scales glowed with soft silver light. Sparks danced gently across its wings, controlled, not painful like before. Then the old engine, which had been unstable and flickering, suddenly purred to life. The hum became steady. The readings on the diagnostic panel turned green. The dragon crawled out of the chamber and sat proudly in front of Jax. Jax stared. "You fixed it?" The dragon puffed its chest and chirped victoriously. Jax ran a hand through his hair. "You can channel energy through machinery. That's amazing." The dragon nuzzled his hand, happy to be praised. Jax scratched behind its small horns. "You're full of surprises, little guy." For the first time, the dragon attempted something new. In Jax's mind, soft, faint, like a whisper, he felt an emotion that wasn't his own. Warmth, gratitude, connection. He jerked back in surprise. Did you just talk to me?" The dragon shook its head lightly, as if saying, "Not exactly." Then it carefully pressed its forehead to his hand again. Instantly, Jax felt a clear emotion. "Thank you." He swallowed, stunned. "You're incredible." The dragon blinked, pleased. Jax gently touched the side of its face. "I guess you're not just some experiment, huh? You're something rare, something the galaxy has never seen before. The dragon's eyes brightened, glowing like tiny stars. A promise forms. That night, while the outpost slept, Jack sat beside the dragon, watching it breathe softly. Its body rose and fell in gentle rhythm, no longer shaking with pain. Its wings fluttered slightly as if dreaming. Jack sighed. "I don't know how this will end," he said quietly. "But I'm not letting them take you." The dragon didn't wake, but it moved closer to him, as if it could hear even in sleep. Jax leaned back against the wall. He wasn't sure when he had started caring so much. All he knew was that the creature had trusted him first, with its safety, with its pain, and now with its life. He closed his eyes. He didn't know it yet. But a bond had formed, stronger than either of them understood. A bond that would soon be tested when the syndicate arrived. The next morning on Helicon Fringe began like any other, cold lights flickering awake, tired workers moving through the halls, and the low hum of starship engines echoing from distant hangars. But inside Jax's workshop, things were far from normal. The small dragon, now stronger and more alert, stood on the table watching Jax with bright, curious eyes. Its wings twitched every time he moved. It followed the movement of his hands as he repaired a damaged flight stabilizer. "You really don't get tired of staring at me, do you?" Jax asked. The dragon chirped as if answering. Jax shook his head, amused. "All right, little guy, but stay away from the sharp tools." The creature seemed to understand. It hopped off the table and settled on a warm coil of wires, curling its tail neatly around itself. Jax worked in peaceful silence for a while, until a sudden loud announcement echoed through the outpost speakers. "Attention all personnel! Unidentified ships entering Helicon Fringe sensor range." Jax froze. He slowly set down his tools. "That's not normal." The dragon's scales dimmed slightly. It lifted its head, sensing something uneasy in the air. Then the voice continued. "Unknown vessels are not responding to hails. Security teams report possible syndicate involvement." Jax's stomach dropped. The syndicate. The same people who experimented on the little creature. The same people now hunting for it. He looked at the dragon. The small creature stood completely still, eyes wide, wings trembling. "You know—" "Don't you?" Jax whispered. The dragon made a soft, frightened hum. A mental wave of fear touched Jax's mind, quick, sharp, like a flash of cold water. Jax knelt beside it. Hey, it's okay. I'm right here. We're going to figure this out." The dragon moved closer, pressing its forehead to his hand. Jax felt fear again, but also trust. He exhaled slowly. "All right. We need a plan. The enemy arrives." Jax stepped outside the workshop to check the main hallway. People hurried past in panic. Some ran toward the control room, others toward their ships. He overheard conversations. "They're syndicate hunters. They're scanning for something, biosignatures maybe." "Why are they here? What do they want?" Jax swallowed hard. He knew exactly what they wanted. He returned to the workshop quickly. The dragon was pacing in small circles. Anxious. "Okay, little guy," Jax said. "We need to hide you." The dragon shook its head and let out a troubled sound, sending Jax a faint telepathic impression, an image of armed strangers storming the workshop. "So hiding here won't work," Jax muttered. "They'll search every room." He scanned the workshop until his eyes landed on the half-disassembled Star Runner ship parked in the corner. Old, dusty, and barely functional, it wasn't fit to fly yet. But it had one advantage. A large, hollow engine chamber. "I might have an idea," Jax whispered. He led the dragon to the Star Runner. The creature stepped inside the open rear chamber, sniffing around the metal walls. Its scales glowed faintly as if it sensed the energy lines within the engine. Jax pulled out a large tarp and an old privacy shield device. Stay still. Okay? The dragon curled up tightly inside a corner of the chamber. Jax covered it with the tarp and activated the shield. The device wasn't strong enough to hide from advanced scanners, but it could blur shapes and tones. Someone would have to look really carefully to find you, Jax said. The dragon chirped softly. A faint emotion reached Jax's mind. Trust mixed with worry. I'll come back for you, Jax promised. Don't make a sound unless it's an emergency. He closed the engine chamber and locked it quietly, just in time, because the workshop door slid open with a harsh hiss. 3 figures stepped inside. Confrontation. They were tall, dressed in sleek black armor with red visors hiding their faces. Their boots echoed loudly in the workshop as they spread out, scanning the room. One of them spoke in a cold, metallic voice. Human mechanic, Jax Wren. Jax forced his breathing to stay calm. Yeah? Can I help you? The lead hunter stepped forward. We are searching for a stolen biological asset. It is extremely dangerous and highly valuable. We believe it may have passed through this station. Jax shrugged casually. I fix machines, not biological assets. The hunter ignored the joke. Our scanners detected an unusual energy signature earlier. It came from this section of the outpost. Jax kept his face neutral. Probably just one of my engines acting up. The hunter raised a small device, scanning Jax's workshop. The beam swept across the tables, the tools, the scattered wires. It grew louder when pointed at the Star Runner ship. Jax's heartbeat quickened, but the hunter simply turned away. This ship is outdated, barely functional. The signature is inconsistent. Jax tried not to show relief. The hunter leaned in close to Jax. If you have information and hide it, the consequences will be severe. I don't know anything, Jax said firmly. For a moment, no one spoke. The air felt tight and dangerous. Finally, the lead hunter gestured to the door. We will continue our scan of the station. Do not leave your workshop. They marched out. Jax waited until the door fully closed before exhaling a shaky breath. His hands trembled slightly. That was too close, he whispered. He hurried to the Star Runner and opened the engine chamber. The little dragon looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. Jax climbed in and hugged the creature gently. It's okay. You did great. The dragon pressed against him, trembling. Jax felt a burst of emotion, not fear this time, but relief and deep attachment. He brushed his hand over its head. We can't stay here. They're not leaving until they find you. The dragon hummed a soft, sad note. Jax nodded. Yeah, I know you're scared, but we have to move. Time to run. Over the next hour, Jax moved quickly around the workshop, grabbing supplies and tools. He kept glancing at the small dragon, who now sat quietly on the engine platform, watching him. The outpost alarms continued to blare warnings. Syndicate forces have expanded their search grid. All personnel remain in your designated areas. Jax ignored the commands. He pulled the tarp off the Star Runner and brushed dust from its hull. Well, old girl, looks like you're needed sooner than we thought. The ship hummed weakly, as if waking up from a long sleep. Jax climbed inside and started checking systems. Power was low. Fuel was limited. The navigation interface flickered badly. You can't fly, Jax muttered. Not like this. He ran diagnostics. Half the ship was failing. Even with his skill, repairs would take hours, maybe days. They didn't have that time. He ran a hand through his hair. What do I do now? The dragon suddenly hopped down from the engine platform and walked into the heart of the engine chamber. Its scales glowed brighter, spreading silver light across the metal walls. Little guy? The dragon pressed its body against the inner system core. Energy rippled outward. Slowly, the ship responded. Engines vibrated, panels lit up. Power surged across circuits that had been dead for months. Jax stared in disbelief. "You're activating the ship?" The dragon turned toward him and gave a determined chirp. Jax checked the system readings again. Stable, balanced, more power than he'd ever seen the old ship produce. He laughed in pure amazement. "You're incredible!" But the dragon wasn't done. It climbed deeper into the chamber, curling into a small energy cradle where the ship's power coils met. The ship's hum changed, becoming alive, like a heartbeat. Jax felt the emotional impression again. Together, he swallowed. Yeah, together. He ran to the cockpit and strapped in. The Star Runner engines roared. The workshop lights flickered from the sudden surge of power. Jax activated the thrusters. The ship lifted off the ground, shaking slightly. Then, boom! The workshop door burst open. The Syndicate hunters rushed in, weapons raised. "Target located!" one shouted. "No time!" Jax yelled. He hit the ignition. The Star Runner shot forward, smashing through the workshop bay doors and soaring into the vacuum of space. The chase begins. Syndicate ships immediately pursued. Jax gripped the controls. "Hang on, little guy," the dragon answered with a deep hum that vibrated through the ship's core. Energy flowed into the engines. The Star Runner leapt ahead like a shooting star. Behind them, Syndicate hunters swarmed, but for the first time, Jax didn't feel fear. He felt partnership. He felt strength. He felt the dragon's presence guiding him, and together they raced into the unknown, toward danger, freedom, and a future neither of them could imagine. The Star Runner burst out of the Helicon Fringe hangar like a comet breaking free from gravity. The old ship shook violently at first, as if surprised to be flying again after so long. But then the hum from the engine changed. Smooth, powerful, steady. Deep inside the engine cradle, the little dragon glowed with soft silver light, spreading its energy through every circuit. The entire ship felt like it was coming alive. Jax gripped the controls tightly, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Behind them, the Syndicate ships shot out of the outpost, one after another, red lights flashing like angry eyes. "All right, little guy," Jax muttered. "Time to see what you can really do." The dragon answered with a strong, deep hum that vibrated through the cockpit walls. The Star Runner accelerated. The first wave. The Syndicate hunters were fast, sleek black ships with sharp blade-like wings and powerful thrusters. They closed in quickly, firing warning shots that streaked across Jax's view. Bright beams of energy zipped past the Star Runner's hull, making the ship jolt from the near hits. The dragon sent a quick impression into Jax's mind, an emotion that felt like focus mixed with courage. Jax nodded. "I know. I'm not scared." Well, he was a little scared, but he wasn't backing down. He grabbed the controls and jerked the ship sideways. The Star Runner spun sharply, dodging another blast. "Nice reflexes," Jax muttered to the dragon. "Let's go right." The ship leaned into the turn with surprising smoothness. The dragon's energy helped stabilize the movement, almost guiding the ship before Jax even touched the controls. It felt like flying with someone else's instincts layered on top of his own. One Syndicate ship fired a bolt toward the Star Runner's engines. The dragon reacted instantly. Its scales flared with bright light, sending a surge of energy through the rear thrusters. The ship shot upward, missing the bolt by inches. Jax laughed breathlessly. "That's it! Keep doing that!" Through the asteroid drift. Behind the outpost stretched a field of drifting asteroids, huge floating rocks spinning slowly through space. Normally, even skilled pilots avoided the field unless absolutely necessary. But Jax had no choice, and more importantly, he had a dragon helping him. "We're heading into the drift," Jax said, eyes narrowing. The dragon chirped confidently. The Star Runner plunged into the asteroid field. Massive rocks moved around them, some as big as small ships, others like fragments of shattered moons. They spun unpredictably, reflecting starlight and casting shifting shadows. The syndicate ships hesitated at the edge of the field. They were fast, but not as maneuverable inside tight spaces. Jax grinned. Perfect. He guided the ship through narrow gaps, weaving between rocks. Each time he felt unsure, the dragon gave him a gentle nudge of emotion, like a mental hint. Left, lower, faster. The ship obeyed beautifully, its movements almost dancing with the floating stones. Suddenly, a giant asteroid rotated toward them, blocking the path. Jax swore. No way around it! The dragon let out a sharp hum, glowing brighter. Energy surged through the thrusters. Jax pushed the controls forward hard. The Star Runner shot upward, riding the curve of the asteroid's surface so closely that dust particles scattered across the ship's shields. Jax laughed in disbelief. "We actually made that," the dragon chirped proudly. Behind them, two syndicate ships attempted the same maneuver. One clipped the asteroid, spinning out. The other slowed down, falling further behind. Jax smirked. "Looks like they're not as lucky as we are." But luck couldn't last forever. A massive asteroid shattered nearby, sending debris flying. "Brace!" Jax shouted. The dragon responded instantly with a wave of steadying energy. The ship swerved through the debris, narrowly avoiding sharp fragments. Jax wiped sweat from his forehead. "You really are something." The dragon hummed warmly. The second wave. Just when the asteroid field started to thin, space ahead lit up with fresh red dots. Another squad of syndicate ships. Jax's jaw tightened. "They're not giving up, huh?" The dragon growled softly, not angry, but determined. The new hunters came in fast, forming a triangular formation. They fired precision shots that forced Jax to dive. The Star Runner shook violently. A warning alarm beeped. One shot grazed the left wing, leaving scorch marks. I know! Jax yelled at the ship. "Hold together a bit longer!" The dragon's scales flashed again, sending stabilizing energy to the damaged systems. The alarm quieted. Jax braced himself. "We're going to break through." He pushed the throttle to maximum. The Star Runner surged forward. 4 syndicate ships followed. Jax dived under one, rolled between 2 others, and skimmed past the 4th. "Too close," he muttered. The dragon gave him a mental impression, like a push of encouragement. "Don't stop." "Not planning to." Jax pulled up sharply, heading straight for a glowing vapor cloud ahead, a leftover trail from a passing comet. Vapor clouds were unpredictable. They distorted sensors and scrambled ship engines, which meant it was perfect cover. "We're heading in!" Jax shouted. The dragon hummed, ready. The ship plunged into the shimmering cloud. Mist-like particles floated around the cockpit windows, coloring space in soft green and blue. Inside the cloud, everything felt heavy, thick, and quiet. Syndicate scanners would be useless here. But so were Jax's instruments. He flew blind. "Stay with me," he whispered to the dragon. A warm feeling washed over him, comfort, reassurance. The dragon was guiding him, sensing energy patterns he couldn't see. He followed its impressions, left, right, lower, up, until they broke out of the cloud with a burst of speed. The syndicate ships were still inside the mist, confused and spinning in wrong directions. "We lost them!" Jax cheered. But the celebration didn't last, because a huge shadow loomed ahead. The blockade, a massive syndicate cruiser, waited in open space, black, enormous, and armed with heavy cannons. Jax's eyes widened. "Oh, come on!" The cruiser launched drones, hundreds of small automated machines that swarmed toward the Star Runner like angry bees. The dragon made a distressed sound. Jax leaned forward. "We need to go faster!" The engines hummed louder, responding to the dragon's rising energy. The ship surged toward the blockade, but the drones got closer. Jax gulped. "Too many!" Then the dragon did something unexpected. Its entire body glowed intensely, brighter than ever before. Silver light pulsed through every panel of the ship. The drones paused, their sensors confused. "What are you doing?" Jax whispered. The dragon spread its wings inside the energy cradle. Tiny arcs of light danced across its scales. The ship's scanners flickered wildly, but then stabilized, stronger than before. Jax realized what the dragon was doing. "You're disrupting their signal network." The drone suddenly spun in random directions, losing formation. Jax didn't waste the chance. He punched the controls forward. The Star Runner shot straight through the chaos, dodging drones and slipping under the cruiser's firing range. A huge blast fired from the cruiser's main cannon. But the dragon pushed energy into the thrusters at the exact moment. The ship leapt forward like a meteor. The blast missed by inches. Jax exhaled shakily. That was close. The dragon slumped slightly, tired from the effort. Jax softened his voice. "Hey, we made it. You did great." He carefully adjusted power settings so the dragon didn't have to work so hard. The cruiser shrank behind them, becoming just another shape in distant space. A moment of rest. Only when the ship drifted into quiet, empty space did Jax finally relax. He leaned back in his seat, feeling the tension in his shoulders ease. The dragon crawled out of the engine cradle and into the cockpit, wings drooping. It climbed onto Jax's lap, exhausted but safe. Jax gently stroked its head. "You saved us. Again." The dragon let out a soft purr, curling up comfortably. Jax looked at the stars ahead. "We need somewhere safe. Somewhere far from Syndicate space." He opened the navigation maps. Beyond the drift, beyond the vapor clouds, lay a free world he'd heard about in old pilot stories. A place called Valar Prime. Not Syndicate territory. Not controlled by anyone powerful. A place where hunters rarely dared to go. He set the ship's course. "Hang on," he whispered. "We're almost there." The dragon looked up weakly and pressed its head against his chest. Jax smiled softly. Together they drifted toward Valar Prime, toward safety, toward answers, and toward a future they could barely imagine. But the adventure was far from over, because something unexpected waited for them on Valar Prime, something that would change everything again. The Star Runner drifted out of the dangerous nebula clouds and into calmer space. For the first time since escaping the Syndicate, the stars looked peaceful again, bright points scattered across a dark sky, far from tension and danger. Jax leaned back in the pilot's seat, breathing out slowly. His arms and shoulders ached from hours of tense flying. The little dragon lay curled on his lap, asleep, its small body glowing faintly with soft silver light. Every rise and fall of its breath reminded him how close they had come to losing everything. He gently stroked the creature's head. "We're almost there, little guy." Ahead, the planet Valar Prime came into view. It was a beautiful blue-green world, surrounded by a soft ring of shimmering minerals. Clouds swirled in wide, gentle patterns across its surface. Unlike Syndicate worlds, Valar was free, open to all species, peaceful, and protective of refugees. Jax tightened his grip on the flight controls. "Valar welcomes everyone. They won't turn us away." The dragon stirred and opened its silver eyes. It looked out the cockpit window and gave a soft hum, one that felt like hope touching Jax's mind. Jax smiled. "Yeah, I think we're going to be okay." Arrival on Valar. As the Star Runner entered Valar Prime's atmosphere, warm winds brushed against the hull. The ship shook lightly but followed the landing route smoothly. The dragon hopped onto the dashboard, balancing its small claws as it peered out curiously. "Hey, don't fall," Jax warned gently. The dragon chirped and flicked its wings in a confident gesture. They approached a peaceful landing zone at the edge of a large forest. The pad was made of smooth stone with glowing lines guiding ships down safely. Valar Prime didn't have fancy military bases or strict guards. Instead, Friendly attendants and soft-voiced scanning machines greeted visitors. Jax guided the ship down. The landing was bumpy, but the ship held together thanks to the Dragon's earlier repairs. When the engines finally cooled, Jax let out a long, relieved breath. "We made it." The Dragon leapt into his arms, humming in happiness. Jax laughed. "Yeah, we did." He stepped out of the cockpit and opened the ship's hatch. A fresh breeze swept in, warm and filled with the scent of wildflowers and forest air. Valar Prime was calm, peaceful, safe, or so he thought. The unexpected visitors, Jax, carried the little dragon down the landing ramp. The forest around them rustled with life. Small glowing birds flitted between trees. Strange fruits hung from branches shaped like spirals. Soft moss covered the ground like a green carpet. The dragon sniffed the air excitedly. "You like it here?" Jax asked. The dragon nodded in a very clear, eager movement. Before Jax could walk further, something made the air vibrate, not like danger, more like a soft wave of energy, ancient and deep. The dragon froze. Its wings lifted slightly, trembling. "Little guy, what's wrong?" The dragon didn't answer. Instead, it stepped out of Jax's arms and walked ahead slowly, as if drawn by an invisible force. Jax followed, confused but cautious. Then, the forest shimmered. A ripple of light moved through the trees, and from the shadows stepped three enormous beings, creatures shaped like dragons, but far larger than anything Jax had ever seen. Their bodies glowed with golden and blue radiance, their wings stretched wide, shimmering with cosmic energy. Solaran dragons, elders. Jax felt his heart jump. These were legends, creatures of power and wisdom said to be older than many civilizations. The small dragon stood frozen, staring at them with wide, uncertain eyes. Jax stepped protectively in front of it. "Stay behind me." One of the elder dragons lowered its great head. Its voice echoed in the minds of both Jax and the little dragon, gentle but powerful. "We mean no harm, child of Solara." Jax swallowed. You're here for him, aren't you?" Another elder dragon stepped forward. Its eyes shone gently. "We sensed his survival across light years, across storms, across silence. We felt him." Jax looked at the small dragon, stunned. They know you?" The little dragon lowered its head, unsure and nervous. The first elder dragon spoke again. "He is Astrax, the first of his kind, a rare mutation. A bridge between our ancient nature and the new worlds beyond. His growth was stolen, his form twisted, but his spirit remained pure." Astrax. Jax repeated the name softly in his mind. Astrax. It suited him. Jax gently touched the dragon's back. "So, you're special." Astrax hummed, nudging Jax's hand as if to say, "You were the special one for saving me." The eldest dragon lowered its massive head toward Jax. "Human mechanic. You rescued him. You healed him. You protected him. For that, we give thanks." Jax shook his head quickly. "I just did what anyone would do." "Not anyone," the elder dragon replied. "Most would fear him. You did not." Jax said nothing. He wasn't used to praise from creatures the size of buildings. The smallest of the elder dragons stepped forward. Its voice was warm and kind. Astrax was meant to be lost. Broken. Taken from our future. But because of you, he lives. Astrax looked at the elder dragons, then at Jax, then back again. His eyes shimmered with emotion. A choice to make. The eldest dragon spoke again. "We can take him now, teach him, help him grow, give him the strength he was denied." Jax felt something tighten in his chest. Astrax looked small next to the elders, fragile, and yet powerful in his own way. He deserved guidance, he deserved family, he deserved a chance to become what he was always meant to be. Jax sighed softly. If that's best for him, then... Before he could finish, Astrax ran forward and pressed himself against Jax's leg, shaking his head fiercely. "Astrax," Jax whispered. The little dragon looked up at him and sent a powerful wave of emotion into his mind. Love, trust, loyalty. A bond deeper than Jax had ever felt. The elder dragons watched silently. Astrax spread his wings and stood bravely in front of Jax, as if declaring something. The smallest elder dragon nodded. "He has chosen." Jax blinked. "Chosen me?" "Yes," the elder replied. "Dragons choose not by blood but by soul. He chooses you as partner." Jax felt his eyes sting with emotion. I don't know if I'm worthy." Astrax chirped loudly and nudged him, clearly disagreeing. The elders chuckled in a deep, rumbling tone. "You are worthy," the eldest said. "Your heart proved it." One of the elders raised its wing, and a soft beam of energy flowed toward Astrax. The little dragon closed his eyes as the light wrapped around him, warm and gentle. "We bless your bond," the elder said. "You will not walk different paths. You will travel one." Astrax's body glowed brighter. His wings stretched a little wider. His scales strengthened and shone like starlight. He was still small, still unique, but now he was whole. He turned and leapt into Jax's arms, humming happily. Jax hugged him tightly. "I've got you, Astrax. Always." A new beginning. The elder dragons stepped back into the glowing forest. Before fading into light, the eldest dragon spoke one last time. "Together you will change more than you know. Take care of each other, child of Solara and human of heart." Then they disappeared into the shimmering trees, leaving Jax and Astrax alone in the peaceful forest. Jax looked down at the small dragon in his arms. "Well, looks like we're partners now." Astrax chirped, sending a warm, joyful feeling into Jax's mind. Jax laughed. "I guess we should fix up the Star Runner. Maybe explore the galaxy. Maybe help people. Who knows?" Astrax flapped his wings excitedly. "Yeah," Jax said, smiling. "Let's go see what's out there. Together." As the sun set over Valar Prime, the human mechanic and the rare mutant dragon stood side by side, partners, friends, and family. Their journey had only begun, and the universe was waiting for them.